This is a short excerpt from Dick Segretto's live stage show, Hooray for Hollywood, and there's a teaser about the early history of the 6 major studios that were at the dawning age of what we came to call Hollywood.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? You can hear me clear. Okay. My name is Dick Segretto, and my stage name is Guido. This is a really good crowd here today, and I want to thank everybody personally for coming out. And I see a lot of familiar faces, so I feel I'm amongst friends. Anyway, today, before we start, someone had requested, in fact it was Dale, and I think it's well worthy of it, asking for a moment of silence for the passing of Robin Williams and the great classic actress Lauren Bacall. Okay, as you all know, today's show is Hooray for Hollywood, as it says on the screen. I love the films, and I love talking about motion pictures. I think some of my new friends say, is that all we can talk about is the movies? Well, I believe that there's a lot of people that enjoy talking about the films. They enjoy, perhaps they have a favorite film, favorite scenes, characters, or actor. Sometimes it's the soundtrack. Or it might even be the movie experience itself of going to the movies. I bet a lot of you in the audience can recall back to when you were a child. I certainly can. Growing up in Burbank, California, I would go to the Saturday matinee every week. What a treat that was. You had the newsreel, the coming attractions, the cartoons, those cliffhangers. You remember those cliffhangers? And you had 2 feature films. And for me, at that time, cost a quarter. Not only did I get an admission ticket, but I had a soda and a box of Good and Plenty's. Man, I was in 7th heaven. And I remember my first dramatic adult film. I don't know, maybe some of you can recall. My first was From Here to Eternity. Probably remember that film. It was 1952. I was 12 years old. Great film. Starred Burt Lancaster, Deborah Carr, Montgomery Clift, Frank Sinatra, Donna Reed. And Donna Reed and Sinatra won Best Supporting Actor for their role in that film. But there's probably something you didn't know. One of the main scenes from that film is the kissing scene on the beach. That's the scene everybody remembers, right? Well, there's a story behind that. You see, Burt Lancaster and Deborah Carr were having an affair during 41 days of production, and so that scene was originally scripted to be standing up. Well, Burt went to the director and said, I think we should do it laying down on the beach and have that wave crashing on us. Well, little did he know that that scene became one of the most popular kissing scenes of all films in the film history. From Here to Eternity. Hollywood. Hollywood is perhaps one of the most recognizable cities in the world. It's known for its glamour, its glitter, its romance, and it's the film capital of the world. But Hollywood doesn't have any formal government or no formal boundaries. Anybody who's from California knows it just takes up a large, vast area of the LA basin nestled up against the Hollywood Hills. Well, in the early history of films, in the early part of the 20th century, all films were produced in New York and New Jersey. And as people were migrating to California, many film producers said, hey, we can go to Southern California. They have the ideal climate for film production, and it had wide open spaces to do films of westerns and adventure films. Excuse me. The first film produced in Hollywood was called A Daring Holdup by the Biograph Company in 1906. The first studio was the Centaur Company in 1911. And by 1915, Hollywood was producing more films than the New York and New Jersey combined. And by the mid-late 20s, the 6 major studios were in operation. MGM, Paramount, RKO, Warner Brothers, Columbia Studios, and 20th Century Fox. I never was going to forget one. And during that time, During those years, they were having great films were produced. In the early days of film history, we had the silent films. Remember, anybody remember some of the great silent films from the era? Metropolis, Birth of a Nation, The Gold Rush, great films. How about anybody want to contribute? Who were some of the leading male stars of that grand era? Who? Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin. How about Douglas Fairbanks? Harold Lloyd, you remember him? Another great actor. And one of my favorites, I wasn't living at that time, but my father told me all about him, Rudolph Valentino, the great Latin-Italian lover, of course. How about some of the leading ladies? Greta Garbo. Clara Bow, Lillian Gish, Marion Davies, a lot of them. Well, that was part of the silent era.